Tonight on Joy News Prime, government justifies the additional spending cut rolled out by the finance minister, describing it as significant within current limitations.
Goods and services, I know, is around 8-9, and then your capital expenditure. So for us to make a cut of 3.5 on our discretionary item, it is very, very substantial. It is very, very substantial, and we believe it will also send the right signal and message to all the ministries, departments, and agencies.
We'll all be in the Ashanti region, where drivers are disappointed about the 15 peso reduction in fuel prices.
In fact, 15 pesos in the MY because fuel and boarding. Committee to man that time I took fair requirement and can never boy change 15 pesos a day because a new 20 pesos a crack and the woman is a crank and fast also.
Also, communities in Ahafo dissatisfied with the pre-production compensation of a mining expansion project. Two communities are accusing officials at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources of fronting.
We are going to resist any attempt by the government, Nananom or Newmont, within the remit of the law for proper engagement through Yamfo and a FISIPA RNC.
We have all these and more coming up shortly, but we'll begin our bulletin with commodities. Government has justified the additional spending cut rolled out by the finance minister, describing it as significant within current limitations. The cut, according to the finance minister, will help save the economy about 3.5 billion cedis this year. But some have described it as not enough if managers are really committed to matching revenue with expenditure. But Deputy Minister for Finance, Abina Osasari, disagrees.
The minister mentioned that as part of measures to rationalize expenditure, we're going to look at items that we could cut. Our expenditure budget is made up of these items: compensation, interest rate, and goods and services and capital expenditure. Compensation is the salaries, wages, and pensions that we have budgeted for the year. There's no way you can cut compensation. And interest payments are the payments of the interest on our loans that we envisage to pay in the year. So that's one too you cannot touch. So you are left with your goods and services as well as your capital expenditure. Your goods and services and capital expenditure is goods and services, I know, is around 8-9, and then your capital expenditure. So for us to make a cut of 3.5 on our discretionary item, it is very, very substantial. It is very, very substantial, and we believe it will also send the right signal and message to all the ministries, departments, and agencies to work within the space that they have, so that at the end of the day, even though we've been hit by these double items, these double whatever, how do you call it, phenomenon or challenges like the COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war, we still want to live within our targets that we set in the 2022 budget with a fiscal deficit of 7.4% of GDP. So these are the measures that we believe if we should put in place in the expenditure area, and then in the revenue areas, also increase the revenue mobilization through the introduction of the e-VAT, e-commerce, e-gaming initiative that is going to come on in April, and then also looking at rolling out the property rates in April. And we are impressing upon Parliament to also help us pass the various bills that we have brought to the various revenue bills, including the e-levy, the fees and charges, and the exemptions bill. We believe all these things, one, will introduce efficiency in the way we raise our revenue and also increase our revenue if we pass the fees and charges and the e-levy as well. So having to increase revenue and cut our discretionary expenditure by this amount, we believe that it's a true measure of a government that is ready to live within its means and do everything possible to stick to its macroeconomic targets that we put in the 2022 budget, despite the many challenges that we have gone through and we are still going through.
We spoke about the e-levy, and one would ask that with respect to the back and forth, and the minister said in the presentation that Parliament might rise in April, what concession is the ministry and government willing to make now to ensure that everyone is on board looking at the current challenge to pass the e-levy?
Okay. I believe with the e-levy, it's already in Parliament, it's gone through the Finance Committee stage, a report is ready, and we are ready to take it on the floor of Parliament. In coming to an agreement on the report, the Ministry of Finance, through engagements with several stakeholders, had to bring the rates down from 1.75 to 1.5%. And also the Ministry of Finance, through the Minister and other stakeholders, have gone around the country explaining what the e-levy is all about and the kind of revenue that we'll be able to raise if the e-levy should go through. And so I believe that in that engagement, 2-3 things came out. One was the fact that some of our people did not understand the e-levy and what it entailed. And through that, Minister made it known to them and then even said that government had considered the law in society such that if you do 100 and below, you are exempt from paying the taxes, even though the revenues that we raise will serve everybody. So clearly, Minister explained to them that this is more progressive than any other tax measure that we have brought into being since the MPP came into power, taking from the rich, sort of, and then giving and spreading for everybody at all. So we are redistributing income in this e-levy issue. And then secondly, what Ghanaians also wanted us to do as part of we passing the e-levy was to assure them that accountability and transparency will be key. And for that, we also assured them that there are various levels of oversight responsibility. In the area of Parliament, the various committees, because we mentioned that we're going to use some for roads, we mentioned that we're going to use some for the Youth Start program through giving employment to the youth. And so the Employment Committee in Parliament, the Roads Committee in Parliament, and the Finance Committee in Parliament can also play their oversight responsibility by making sure that whatever monies that we collect, we use it for exactly what we say we are going to use it for. And then when you come to the whole society, we also have the Auditor General also playing an oversight role by auditing government finances at the end of the year. And also now we have the RTI bill. If you want any information on how monies raised under e-levy, should it go through, have been spent, you can come under the RTI bill and demand for such information. So now the transparency and accountability rule has increased. And so they wanted that. And then they also wanted to see exactly what we were going to use them for. And so I believe that with the Ministry of Finance and the Minister explaining all these things, I know that we are ready, the Ghanaian citizen is ready to embrace and to support government in this regard. Because like we said, we are in this together. We have to work together to achieve what we want to achieve. And what we want to achieve is a more prosperous life for our people and also to improve upon our economic growth, such that at the end of the day, we all together, we benefit. I remember the verse Minister quoted in Jeremiah 29, verse 7. It says that if you live in a nation and you pray for the nation, as we prosper, everybody prospers. So that is how we are looking at things. We should all work together and make sure we all prosper together.
Well, finally, on the $2 billion support, is it meant to support BOG's reserve, or is more of an expenditure measure that you're using to deal with the challenges? Because some are saying that maybe, I remember the last time when the Deputy Minister of State met us here on the investor consent, one of the plan Bs that he suggested was that they will do a syndicated loan to show up any challenge that they will have. Is this money for showing the Bank of Ghana reserves, plugging in loophole, or helping government spending plans?
George, let me tell you, anytime we went to, all the times that we went onto the international capital market, immediately we bring the funds inside. It is forex that has come to the country. One, it brings some level of confidence so that people don't speculate and they get to know that at all times, if I should need this amount of forex, it will be there for me. So one, to help reduce the speculation on the CD dollar depreciation, and also to improve on our general business confidence in the country. That is very, very important. Once they have that confidence, it will go a long way to stop the hike in the CD dollar situation. So it is not just, it is the general well-being, and to bring back the confidence that if I should need forex at any time T, I will be able to get it. And also we'll use some for liability management, like we mentioned.
Now, communities in Ahafo are unhappy with the pre-production compensation of the mining expansion projects. Two of the communities in the Ahafo region have accused officials of the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources of fronting for a mining expansion project, which they say will deprive them of their livelihood. Residents of the communities have promised to stop the mining company from operating within the catchment area unless a proper resettlement plan is in place. There is more in the following report.
Concerned residents in the Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo communities in the Ahafo region claim a resettlement plan which is supposed to precede the mineral exploration has not been carried through. It is for this reason the residents have vowed to resist the mining project. Some homes to be affected in the mining project have already been marked for demolition, but the aggrieved indigents want other concerns addressed. Lawrence Sapon is Deputy Secretary of the concerned youth.
A separate and independent RNC for Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo will allow the communities and the company to determine and identify the rare needs and challenges of Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo. It will also give the community a fair and adequate opportunity to put across their needs and challenges to the company and the other statutory and governmental authorities. A Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo RNC would be convenient, resource-oriented, effective, and would be devoid of the unnecessary interference in the affairs of Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo by the other communities which have disrupted the resettlement process and delayed same. As provided by under LI 2175, a separate and independent Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo RNC will give the communities the opportunity to engage the services of qualified persons to assist them in the resettlement process and all other compensation claims thereto. This demand for a separate and independent RNC is well within the right of Frisipa, Krum and Yamfo as provided for under the Minerals and Mining Act 2006 at 703 and Minerals and Mining Compensation and Resettlement Regulations 2012 LI 2175. We are very much aware that the land belongs to Nananom and the gold for the government of Ghana, but the structures belong to us, the inhabitants. We will therefore not allow anybody to use either the chiefs or government machinery to intimidate us for their selfish interest. We are going to resist any attempt by the government, Nananom or Newmont, within the remit of the law for proper engagement through Yamfo and a Frisipa RNC.
A data collection exercise for the resettlement plan started last year amid deployment of a joint police-military team.
Some commercial drivers in the Ashanti region are unhappy about the 15 peso reduction in fuel prices for the next 3 months. The Finance Minister, Kenoforiota, announced the government will, from the 1st of April, reduce petroleum products, the price build-up margin by 15 pesos per litre. Despite the government indicating the reduction is to mitigate the impact of rising fuel prices, these drivers are not convinced the decision will salvage the situation. We have more in this report.
Finance Minister Ban Abontene ya obeka say 15 pesos in what year free zone. Say see am no kasa mi lodu am peja me ni hwe e fen say go for there.
When I last checked the pump station, the fuel prices had increased from 10 Ghana cedis 10 pesos to 10 Ghana cedis 40 pesos per litre. A gallon now goes for 60 Ghana cedis.
That is 15 pesos ya. What did you attempt? Into one con one samra na the all can the oil or yashi ni pebufu.
But 15 pesos in the MY because fuel and boarding. Kebiti the uncombat bus committee to some and that time I took fair requirement by a park and can boy since 15 pesos a day because a new 20 pesos crack into a month to crank and fast also. I say 15 pesos a day.
The 15 pesos reduction won't help us in any way. The passengers are still complaining.
Since I sky crackers can passing of what I can crowd you say no more sakasa.
For time, say I'm a mother for much woman. If you much going to Mokoe, we must buy the same thing. And I must obey. Say, Fanasa petrol, you 2 1 cedi Kuranoa 1 litre, I call 1 gallon 5 cedis. They never talk 5 gallons.
Prices were on the high under ex-president Kofo's administration, and we kick them out. We will repeat saying if the government continues to increase prices.
So, in the sana, Kofoma time, I'm a man for much of my pion McCoy. And I will about the same thing on so yenti. I do not cook in a way, never boa. I want to go knock on a baby.
15 pesos in India. If it's a year, but senior petrol no prices no cost no and yet.
The reduction is good, even though it's little. The fuel hikes are global.
If it's a 15 year in case but we wait to home be and better.
15 pesos advantage on the MY or coin biaso because fuel and all that the way boy mean fan say bia within 1 week by 2 fuel more Ghana. So taxes
the taxes on fuel are plenty. Government should reduce them. The reduction won't be helpful.
Into the time per gallon and the number 16 cities. It's a dozen. Jaban who are so Sebi MPP abayana to abamanu in the kaka. What I say because we are scaring quadrism anytime they are better petrol.
We are not earning enough. Once fuel prices increase, the car owners also increase sales.
And favorite drivers, say I can't send carbon between me and who be still. You can't, your car no car.
Away from that, Promasido Ghana, producers of cardboard products in partnership with World Vision Ghana, has handed over 2 new hand pump boreholes to communities at Kadinga in the Kasana Nankana West District of the Upper East region. The boreholes were constructed for the communities under the Cardboard Boreholes project as part of the Cardboard Impacting Lives campaign. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The Kasana Nankana West District of the Upper East region is one of the areas where the lack of access to clean drinking water is a serious challenge. At the Adio and Longo communities inside Kandega in this district, it was even more precarious as the people often struggled commuting long distances to other communities to look for water. School children were also bearing the brunt of the lack of water in these communities as they lost many lesson hours looking for water to prepare for school. They also battled with thirst when the sun became hot during school hours. The chief of Kandega, Naba Henry Abawene Amenga Etigo, said the lack of access to water became a bigger problem for him and the people in the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Water, they say, is life. So when we struggle for water, it means we struggle to stay alive. It was not easy for the people of this community, especially when the coronavirus pandemic broke out and hand washing became crucial. Promasidor Ghana, the producers of cowbell products in partnership with World Vision Ghana, have come to the aid of the Adio and Longo communities here at Kandega by constructing a borehole for each community. The boreholes were constructed under the Cowbell Boreholes project as part of the Cowbell Impacting Lives campaign and commissioned to mark World Water Day, which was observed on the 22nd of March. Joseph Ashong works with Promasidor Ghana.
The borehole project is actually part of a series of social responsibility interventions that we put in place during our 20th anniversary, somewhere 2019. So what we are seeing here is part of the plans that we had in place to give communities that are vulnerable, that are actually lacking potable water. If you follow how we are even celebrating this year's World Water Day, the emphasis is on underground water. And needless to say, underground water per our own activities in the community, farming and other stuff, also endangers the quality of this underground water. So normally we advise that they should take good care of this facility, and our partners assure us that this facility, if taken good care of, could last for almost 50 years. And that means generations on generations will come and benefit on this.
He said more communities across the country will benefit from the next phase of the project.
This actually is marks the end of the first phase. We're going to start the next phase hopefully this year, where we are estimating to give to touch base in about 30 more communities of such caliber, providing boreholes and potable water to vulnerable communities in the country.
The boreholes were constructed in partnership with World Vision Ghana, a Christian relief, development and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. Richard Okine is Integrated Programs Director at World Vision.
We've been working in the most challenging context to provide water to communities, and our objective is to ensure that this water brings good health to children. It also brings access to education, because the time taken for children to commute to school is reduced when water is provided.
For the people of the Adio and Longo communities, the new boreholes have come as a huge sigh of relief, because they have been provided at a time when temperatures in this part of the country can go as high as 43 degrees Celsius. For Joy News, Albert Sorry, Kandega, Upper East Region.
And that'll be it for the bulletin. We'll leave you international business news, also which we have sports with Oreko Ampofo. To stay tuned.